Well, either Joe's beating his kid to death or his kid's throwing toys. It's about 50-50.
Yeah, well, you don't want to be the witness to that.
Nope, I'm gonna stay right down here.
Yeah. I just heard a lot of noise, officer. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, I was downstairs getting drunk and smoking weed. That's
Yeah.
mind my own damn business.
I mean, I guess on the upside, you could say for at least 1 hour a week we have an alibi.
That's true. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, you ready to start this?
Sure.
Make sure I got everything going here. Alrighty. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Woodscast. I am Justin Woods. As with me, per the usual, is my younger Snowden brother. Did you get fucked?
No, we got like 5 inches last night.
Oh, okay. That's
which isn't bad, but then we're supposed to get throughout the day tomorrow another 4, and then like another 6 overnight Tuesday night.
Yeah. So my younger brother Shay lives in outside of Denver, Longmont, and I am coming to you live from Chicagoland, where we have got no snow, and I'm probably gonna have to cut the motherfucking grass next weekend. So, damn it. At least it'll be the last one. And I guess I'll talk while Shay exhales.
Yes, you will.
We have a system. So we are recording this one on the Woodscast on, what the hell's today? Monday, October 28th. A little late in the evening. It's dark as hell here. I'm still not used to this change in time shit. But we have, this is a podcast where I troll the news and pick out anything that looks funny or annoying to me. And then I toss it up to Shay, and he tells me whether it sucks or not, and who sucks and why.
Yeah.
And then we usually go off in some tangent about something random. And but I already have a tangent for you, Shay, before we get going. I have a question for you. Did you know that in the Friday the 13th series that Jason Voorhees isn't always the killer?
Yeah.
Okay, now which movie are you thinking about?
I mean, in the first one, it's his mom.
Okay, very clearly that's the go-to.
But I don't remember. And then there's one movie where like there's a guy. I forget. It's like there's a guy that eats his heart because of reasons.
Yeah. Okay, you are leapfrogging over something that I found out was fascinating this week. So when you said it first, the one you said it first, the fact that in Friday the 13th, the first one, it was in fact not Jason, it's Jason's mom.
Yeah.
And she gets her head cut off. Now that the character of Jason Voorhees, hockey mask slasher icon, is so ubiquitous with the Friday the 13th series that like that question has been in a million pub trivias. And I guarantee you there's a 25% of the people get it wrong, because even as they're saying, oh, Jason Voorhees, in their brain they know the first one was the mom because they just saw the movie. Like it's just it's such a reflex. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and that one I sent you, How Did This Get Made, where they take like random ass movies and just pick them apart and be like, how the fuck did this get from, like, who greenlit this shit, right?
Yeah.
And it's a fun little podcast. It's got two of the guys from the league on it. But it actually hurts me a lot of times because they'll do movies I really like. I'm like, oh, that's not a bad movie. But they did Friday the 13th. Shit, which one? I just lost my place.
I'm gonna throw out here, a movie can still be bad just because you like it doesn't mean it's not bad.
Yeah.
I like a lot of bad movies.
Completely. Friday 13th Part 7, Jason Lives. Now, the reason I listened to this podcast because I thought they were talking about... no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 6, Jason Lives. I thought they were talking about number 7, which was like my favorite. But it turns out like they were talking about how like Jason isn't the killer in all of them. It's like bullshit. I thought I had watched all these, but... so I had to dig down on this because I was fascinated. So you're right. Mrs. Voorhees was the first one. Friday the 13th Part 2, grown man who apparently grew up in the woods. He survived drowning as a kid, right? Because that's the whole thing. He drowned while everybody was getting their fuck on. And the mom killed all the counselors as revenge. And then there's that great like jump scare at the end where the kid comes out of like Friday the 13th Part 2, grown man, grew up in the woods. No fucking explanation about that, just reasons. Friday the 13th Part 3, still Jason, a grown man. He's still just a man. It's where he gets the hockey mask, Part 3. Then you've got Friday the 13th, the final chapter. The numbering gets a little bit wonky here, but I'm just going to roll with it. You got the final chapter. So grown man. He's killed by a kid named Tommy, who was played by Corey Feldman at the time.
Yeah.
And he, like, shaved his head. Okay, so that's all kinds of fucked up. So this introduces this character, Tommy. And it's at this point that they were going to go forward in the series and have a new person be Jason every time. Like, have a new person go crazy and put on the hockey mask and murder a bunch of people, then get murdered. Because in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, it's some random fucking dude named Ray Burns.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right, so they kill him, and the ending of that movie apparently pissed everybody off so much, that's when they started, like, reanimating him every time. Because then you got Jason Part 6, that Tommy kid is going to dig him up and burn him and, like, totally send him to hell or something, but he gets struck by lightning, comes back, kills everybody. You've got Friday the 13th Part 7, which is my favorite. That's the one where they just introduce a girl with telekinesis for no fucking reason. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
She somehow resurrects the ghost of her dad to drag Jason down to the bottom of Crystal Lake. That one was also the one with that really great sleeping bag kill where they pick up the sleeping bag and he just beats it against the tree like a burrito.
Incorrect. That is Jason X. Jason Space.
No, that wasn't that one. And they did that. They did it again in Jason X.
Well, yeah, but in that one, he kills him in that one. And then later on, the good one is Jason X, where they just keep giggling while he beats him against the side of a tree.
Yeah, but it's a simulation.
Yeah, that's why it's so fun.
Yeah. And then you got Jason Takes Manhattan. So, like, after part 6, he's this reanimated demon, and you get into all the dumb shit like Jason Takes Manhattan, where apparently they sail a houseboat out of the lake to New York. Don't know how that happened.
Something like that, yeah.
Something dumb. Then you got Jason Goes to Hell, where we find out that he's basically a deadite, and he can only be killed by a magic dagger, and it has to be a blood relative. So they find, like, his half cousin or some dumb shit move. Then you've got my personal favorite, Freddy. Okay. Well, at the end of the Jason Goes to Hell, you've got the Freddy glove takes the mask down to hell.
Yeah.
Then we get Jason X, which we're talking about. You got Cyborg Space Jason. Then we got Freddy vs. Jason, which was a classic. Which
wasn't good, but it was a classic.
Oh, it was insane.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
The premise of that was Freddy wakes Jason up. Wait a minute, let me get this right because I don't want to fuck up the writing that went into this movie. Freddy impersonates Jason's mom to wake him up so he can go. So Jason will go to Springwood and kill people, scaring enough people thinking Freddy's back so he can have his scare powers to kill more kids. There you go. And last one was Friday 13th, 2019 or 2009. I'm sorry. They just kind of retold the story, but that one he's a dude too. Well, I was like floored, and they're like, no, there was one where it's just some random guy.
There's another one. They're doing a reboot. It's supposed to start. It's supposed to come out, or I don't know if it's filming next year or comes out next year, but it's the anniversary. It's the somethingth anniversary of it. So there's another one that's going to come out around the time of the anniversary.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I mean, I was just floored that this was a thing, so I read through all their synopses and everything. And I mean, if you look at the returns, like the entire movie's made for like between $2 and $5 million, and they usually do 25 to 30. You know.
Yeah, no, they make money. That's why they keep cranking them out.
Yeah. I don't know. I figured since it's October, it's spooky time.
I want to see. I need to see the Halloween that was the newest one. That was a direct sequel to the first one and ignored all the other ones.
That
the
was
one
so
that
good.
with Jamie. I heard it was really good, and I really like those Halloween. Even the shitty ones. I like all those crappy 80s and 90s slasher flicks. It can't be worse than Halloween H2O. That shit was fucking ridiculous. But yeah, no, I'm into it.
No, that was really good because it's a direct sequel to the first Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis reprises her role, and she takes on this persona of like a prepper. Like instead of the doctor being the guy that was, the doctor being the guy who was like, we got to watch him forever. He's some deep well of evil. Like she just knew he would come back sometime, and so she's got fucking guns stashed everywhere and. You know, she's ready to she's ready for him to get let out so she can gun him the fuck down. It was fun. It was good. It was good shit. All right. Okay, let's do the weekly numbers before we get going on here. Alcohol inventory. We need to let the listeners know how we started it. How we started this. I'm on my third beer.
I've got my White Russian. I came straight. I haven't had a chance to start drinking yet today. I did you the favor, and I didn't go to the bar after work today, so I came home.
All right.
Had to get some food too, so I went to the grocery store.
There you go. All right, we are in the 1011th day of the Trump administration. That's why we drink. It's been 503 days since Donald Trump solved the North Korea situation. Nobody has ridden any horses on mystical land that I know of yet. And it's been about 1 day since Donald Trump called Osama bin Laden handsome on live TV. So that was the thing.
That was weird.
And it's been a long time since George R.R. Martin has written fucking anything. So get to work, you fat bastard. Shay, did you know this is the 30th one of these we've done?
Sure. I keep track of that.
You wouldn't know that. I'm the one that puts the numbers on them.
I know you are. That's yeah.
So we've done, this is the 31. We promise we will keep it just as professional as we have now.
30.
Yep. While I talk, Shay drinks, and vice versa, and we promise to be a little bit accurate on all the things we say, but not totally.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get all this right.
No.
So first thing I guess we have to talk about is Donald Trump, as a member of the Special Forces unit, killed al-Baghdadi this weekend, and he's very impressed with himself. Did you watch this? Did you watch any of this fucking presser?
I don't watch anything he says. I don't do that. I just read transcripts.
I got up yesterday. So what happened is we found out where al-Baghdadi is. He's the, I guess, quintessential head of ISIS. We found out where he was, somewhere in Pakistan. And they went and they killed him. Kind of like we did with Osama bin Laden. You find a terrorist leader, you kill him. It's great. So, okay, that's great. But then Donald Trump went on TV yesterday, and I was getting ready to leave the house, and I had to sit and watch the whole thing because it was unreal. It was absolutely unreal. He went from, he made the announcement, and then he got, really into the details of how this guy died and how awesome our soldiers are, because he knows, that's what his followers want to hear about. There was no gravitas to this. He went into graphic detail about how this guy died, which, okay, fuck that guy. We don't, he didn't need to be on the planet. Apparently gave specifics out that he wasn't supposed to give out. Things that were classified and the CIA didn't want anybody to know. The specific path they took there and back. But he was saying dumb shit like, we flew really fast and really low. Really? Did you? And, said the kill was bigger than bin Laden. He did tell Russia before he told House Democratic leaders. They were kind of miffed about that.
Well, I thought was weird. I was reading about it. It was just how he was super into. He was doing the whole dick measuring thing where he was talking about well, yeah, Obama did this, but I did this, and it was way cooler. It was really weird.
Oh yeah.
But I don't ever expect him to act presidential, so it's not really a surprise.
I was pretty taken aback. He called Osama bin Laden handsome twice on live fucking TV, and I was and funny thing was our buddy Corey, I texted him, I was like, are you watching this? And he's like, I've been watching the whole time. And when that happened, we both sent each other a text at the same time. I was like, did he just call bin Laden handsome?
That's that's how much he likes those kind of people. That's he probably was bummed when bin Laden got killed because he's like, man, I bet he was a great dude.
He said that he wrote a book in 2000 that called that's where he started talking about how handsome bin Laden was. He said he wrote a book that called 9/11 before it happened. He said if they just listened to me, everything would have been fine. Everything would have been a lot better. But I never get credit for that. I would love to read the book that Donald Trump actually writes.
Well, you saw that letter he sent to the president of Turkey, so that's about what his book would be like. Just a rambling sentence.
So amazingly close to a tweet that it was pretty funny.
Yep.
So that was fun. At least I have some classified information. Now here's some. We love talking about conspiracy theories. There's a new conspiracy theory that Donald Trump was not there for the raid. He was not in the Situation Room, and they took that photo later.
I want to believe that, but that's so funny. I don't really care, but that's
right,
fun.
Right. Well, okay. Well, first of all, of course, Donald Trump is going to act like he was in, he was in the Situation Room. He planned out every step of the raid. Instead of them just handing him an order like, hey, yes, no.
Yeah.
Right? And he said yes. And so they went and did this. That's fine. I mean, not every president has to be so into the nuts and bolts of it. But Donald Trump wants you to think that he was standing in some dark room with screens everywhere and like one of those underlit tables and like there's maps and schematics and grids, and he's sitting there with a headset on and he's pointing stuff and I don't know, doing some weird bullshit 3D hacker stuff on a computer that's not real that like calls in drone strikes. So that's what he wants you to think. We all know that's not true. But because when he said like they asked him who was in the situation room with him, he had no fucking clue. Like he named 2 people. He said Mike was there, and he named like 2 other people, and then he says, and then all my generals, which means, and there were 2 generals in the frame of the picture they took, and okay, so he doesn't know their names at all. Like that's just you just call them General 1, General 2. But everyone was saying that the metadata for the picture said that he wasn't there when. It was taken after the raid, and it was very framed, so that Donald Trump was looking right in the camera and looked very authoritarian. I don't know. I kind of want to believe that's true, but I'm not going to put any effort into making it true or even like looking into it.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, but that's if only because it's a decent picture. Like he always, whenever you catch him candid, he always looks fucking terrible. So.
Well, the general said he doesn't know their name. They look pissed. They look bored.
Yeah.
They were like, I want to go home.
Yeah. We already did this. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, I read another article. I just kind of skimmed it just before we sat down to record this. There's who did this? Business Insider did a direct comparison between the 2 pictures, and not really like if it's fake or real, but about like what the focus was. Because when the famous Osama bin Laden picture with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Like, you could tell that they were looking at the screens. They're not looking at the camera. Nobody's wearing a jacket. There's coffee cups everywhere. Like, Hillary Clinton's visibly shocked by whatever the hell's happening on the screens, And, like, Barack Obama's not sitting at the head of the table. He's, like, over in a corner just watching the screen. Like, you can tell that it was just a candid shot of them in the moment. And so they compare that to the fact that this was such a staged photograph that lends itself to the idea that, it was such a good photograph. I'm going to put it that way. Like, it's very rare to catch a candid picture of yourself looking that awesome.
Yep. It looks very presidential, so it's got to be staged.
Yeah. Although whoever framed it really needed to put the seal directly over his head. That's the first thing I fucking noticed. It's like a little off.
Yeah, it's a little off.
Come on, goddammit.
Yeah, that's
fucking OCD's dying over here. If you're going to fake a picture, fake it right, for fuck's sake. Be like one of those guys that spends all weekend setting up their YouTube camera so they look cool when they're telling everybody about how the Jews really didn't die.
Yep. I like the idea of them being like, all right, so you need to stand a little off center. It's going to look fake. So make sure
Putting
we don't want to be too perfect. Yeah, we don't want to be too perfect.
That's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Oh, the other day, speaking of like the Holocaust didn't happen, you remember our buddy Styx Hexenhammer?
Yes.
Who pronounces Patreon.
Yes.
I was trying to test out the software to make sure it was working the way I wanted it to, and so I just like boot up a YouTube video and play some sound so I can record it like your audio comes to me, and I just clicked a random fucking video of his, and it was how the Jews didn't die in the Holocaust, and it's overblown because the people don't understand the difference between gassing and delousing.
Okay.
Yeah. So his whole thrust of the argument was that like the gas that they used to apparently quote unquote kill them is a delousing agent, and we used it up until the 60s. And there was a pool at Auschwitz. I'm like, wait a minute, is this motherfucker trying to tell me that the Jews that were enslaved at Auschwitz had a pool?
Yeah.
That they could just take a little dip whenever they got hot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
That sounds legit. What's weird about that?
I was floored. I'm over here just trying to I'm fiddling with buttons trying to make sure the audio's recording, and I'm not really listening to what he's saying until he was like, oh yeah, they just got deloused. I'm like, wait a minute, what? God, I hate that guy. Okay, so after Donald Trump's really great, I mean, it was a win for Donald Trump. It's a win for Donald Trump. He got to do the presser, got to say he killed a terrorist leader. People stopped talking about how that William, I think it's Taylor's his name,
yes,
basically said there definitely was a quid pro quo. We spent months working on the quid pro quo. We did a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they wanted to take away from that. So that was a good win for them. Then Donald Trump goes to the Nationals game last night and gets the ever-living shit boot out of him.
That was hysterical.
Right. Now, as Shay says, he apparently doesn't hear the audio, and I can put that in later, but it's probably better if you Google it at home, because there are because we live, it's 2019, everybody's recording fucking everything nowadays, so there are about 1 million people recording on their phones as Donald Trump entered the Game 5 of the World Series, which is Astros versus Nationals. Nationals lost. I don't remember the score, but if anybody cares, Astros are leading 3-2 in the series. But so Donald Trump comes in, he's there, whatever. Somebody else made a point. Did you see that Matt Gaetz was with him? And we'll talk about that motherfucker later. No. But somebody made the point, is like, there's nothing like going to a baseball game with your dad, especially the World Series. You have a 13-year-old son, and you brought Matt Gaetz. I was like, that's a good fucking point. Yeah. So anyway, they had a bunch of veterans that were there up on the jumbotron, and everybody's cheering their asses off. Then it cuts to Trump sitting in the owner's box or whatever, and it immediately goes to boos, just a cavalcade of boos. And Donald Trump is waving like a jackass until it sinks in that these people are booing his ass. And then he makes the poutiest pouty face and sits there.
I do love, that's my favorite part of that video, is just where he goes, huh, aw. It really it reminds me of the Simpsons, where Nelson looks in the mirror and goes, ha ha, and then he realizes he's laughed at himself, and he's like, oh, that hurt. No wonder no one came to my birthday party.
Yeah.
You look so sad.
Yeah. And so he sat there, and there's a bunch of stories that were like, then he left early. He left at the top of the 8th inning. He's the president of the United States. He gets to come and go when he wants. It wasn't like he was booed out of the stadium. Like, no. That's not what happened. But then they started chants of lock him up, which...
That's fun.
That's fun, but also there are so many tight asses on the morning shows that are like, that's un-American. We have due process. I'm like, fuck that. He said lock her up for 2 years, so
yeah,
lock him up. Lock his ass up.
It was just really funny to see, because a lot of times when you see footage of him, it's in a curated environment. It's it's somewhere. It's like a rally that he's having, or an event that he's a conservative event of some kind. It's not usually a big group of a random cross section of people. So it was real fun to see that happen. I love watching his face transition. It brings me so much joy.
You can watch the minute he because he's just waving. He can probably hear just noises, like, because in a stadium like that, there's a delay, there's echoes, there's reverb and shit. But you can see the point at which when he listens closely enough to hear that it's not cheering, it's booing, and his whole demeanor drops. Other fun fact, Shay, when Fox News played that, they edited out the boos.
I saw that. Yeah.
I played it. It's fucking hilarious. Whatever gibbering dipshit is talking over the clip is like, President Trump visited Game 5 of the World Series. The reaction to his visit was mixed, but he had a great time. Like,
that's hilarious. Yeah, no, I haven't seen the edited one. I've just seen the headline. I've got it bookmarked to watch because I'm sure it's funny.
Oh, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And this is like, this kind of like, okay, like what you said is very true. This was a bigger cross section of Americans than he's ever in front of on purpose. His rallies, I have to assume, are like 99.95% supporters, because there are 5 people in there that get bounced at some point for holding up a sign, right? Like some protester. But like, okay, so that's 5 out of 20,000 people, depending on the stadium size, whatever. I mean, he always lies about that. That's my second favorite thing about a Trump rally, is the article the next day that quotes the actual capacity of it. Like, Trump's up there, it's like, there are 75,000 people in this place. Nobody's ever sold it out. And then it's like, the Des Moines Register says that only 8,500 people can fit in the stadium.
It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, what? Numbers are a thing.
Well, I mean, they're really stacking people, like literally one on top of the other.
Yeah.
Fucking
so, like, like you said, he's never in front of anybody that's just like random people. And yes, this is DC. I think a lot of people called it the swamp, but I don't think the swamp, quote unquote, like the lobbyists and the fucking politicians and the career people were. I mean, these are like, if they were in the government, they were just regular public servants. So, okay, maybe they lean a little bit more Democratic, but it looked really bad. And a lot of people have tried to tell me that like Trump isn't as unpopular as he is. Like you've even been on my Facey Spaces and my books where people are like, well, I don't think he's that unpopular. I don't think he's, more than 50% unpopular. And I can immediately show you, I don't know, 30 polls that say he's underwater.
Yeah, no, he's never been over 50% approval, has he?
No, there was one Rasmussen poll like a month ago, and he kept tweeting that motherfucker out for a week and a half because it had him at 50% approval.
Well, yeah, that's because Rasmussen's only asking the Republican members of Congress, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Rasmussen is verifiably leaning to the right, and everybody knows that. And I mean, it would be like Donald Trump has 75% approval. It's like, all right, cool. Where'd you conduct this poll? Oh, CPAC. Oh, okay, good one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great.
Okay. We just asked his 2 dumbest sons. Like, oh, okay.
I mean, that'd be like the same thing if someone came to me and was like, all right, we show that Donald Trump has a 90% disapproval rate. I'm immediately going to ask, who did you talk to? Democrats? Well, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I always love is people like, dude, support for impeachment's at like 80%. I'm like, among Democrats. Like, come on now. Let's be specific here, fellas.
Yeah. Alex Jones' big thing is to say that all the polls are like take any poll and then give Trump 15 to 20 points, and that's the real poll. Those are the real numbers.
Oh, okay.
Because Donald Trump has internal polling that's way better.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
again,
sure.
He's only asking the people in the room with him. What do you think of me? You're great.
Yeah.
You're the best.
I always like to say like when I tell people like I'm very handsome, they say, oh yeah, who said that? It's like my grandmother.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah, Granny said I'm handsome, so I'm handsome. Shut up. Okay, so that happened. Oh, I mean, like, okay, so current polling right now, he's underwater. Gallup, -18. 538, -13.9. Real Clear Politics. And this is the conservative one, -13. Like, what the fuck? Do you have any
people
conservative...
love him.
Huh?
People love him.
Well, certain people love him. There's 35% of Americans that will never believe that he's done anything wrong.
Yeah.
It wasn't your buddy. I would have queued this up and maybe sent you the link. I try to pay attention to what your buddy Lou Dobbs does, just for you.
Yeah.
But he says so much dumb shit. We don't have enough podcasts to like. We'd have to do one every 2 days to cover all of the racist and dumb shit that he says. But Mark Levin, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's another.
I know the name.
He has a show. He has a Fox News show on the weekends, and he goes on Sean Hannity's show like every third hour, because like he's one of these old school dipshits. It's like the Constitution, sir, the good tradition of Republicans and the Constitution. Like he's always fucking rattling on about that shit. But he's a lawyer, and he's not a very good one. But he says, and this is a direct quote: there has not been a single hint of any scandal in the Trump administration.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, that sounds about like one of his toadies. I mean but if he's going on Sean Hannity, I mean he's not even trying to not be biased. He's just fucking getting his paycheck.
He's trying to sell books.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to sell a fucking book.
There's one of these people that does an interview with a book tied around his neck. We're like, hey, it's interesting you asked that question, Sean. I wrote a book about it.
Yeah, if you read my book, yeah. It's always fun when you'll read about how I think this happened with Bill O'Reilly, one of his books. Like his book was a bestseller for a couple of weeks, and then some intern on it that was working at Fox went to a floor that she didn't normally go to and found like just a whole empty floor full of his books.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like they released it, and then the network buys a whole bunch of them, and then it keeps it on the bestseller list, which then means you've got a best-selling author as a talk show host, which means you get more money for ad revenue. So it's this whole big cycle. So anytime someone's pitching a book on the telly, you should be suspicious.
Well, and also, Shay, you're exactly right. That's a documented thing, and it's even more prolific on the. Now, I hate to say this, but the less established places. I mean, Fox News might be complete horseshit, or as what Jon Stewart always called bullshit mountain. Yeah. I mean they're established at least, but the news starts like Ben Shapiro, that little 1.5 speed garden gnome. His is the Daily Wire. Tucker Carlson's is the Daily Caller. These are websites that just make up some of the most random ass articles and send them out. And it's like, was Barack Obama worse than Satan? Question mark. Like, that's just an article they throw out. You know what I mean? I mean, they'll just throw shit out there like that. And they're actually a really bad pipeline for like really darker stuff, like fucking Stormfront. And yeah, like they wash a lot of stuff that should not come up from the bad parts of the internet. But I digress. They're really bad about their $1 billion support system. Like the Koch brothers, or I guess Koch brother, the other one kicked the bucket. But Koch brothers are just a kind of a euphemistic term for this shit. But there's Foster Freeze. There's a bunch of other guys out there that do this stuff. They got billions. Usually made it in the Adelson. What's that guy's name? Adelson. I forget his first name. He was a casino guy. Most of them making money in like oil and natural gas, and then they just fund these people. And Ben Shapiro's whole setup was paid for by like this one guy. It's not Foster Freeze. It was the other guy. I can't remember his name right now. But like they just throw millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to these people. And then when Ben Shapiro writes a book, these fuckers, like you said, buy thousands of copies of it, and it just sits in a warehouse somewhere.
I mean, my understanding is I'm not sure how those lists work, but even if it just doesn't sell a huge quantity, but it sells real quickly, it means something too. Like it's a whole big thing.
And even now with pre-orders and ebooks, like you could have pre-orders shoot up on Amazon, and they use that as a moniker. And but no, like they do this. I mean, you got to think about it. Like what you said, you can sell better ad revenue if you've got a best-selling author on your network. Blah, blah, blah. And those books, if you buy them in bulk, they got to be fucking cheaper than, what you're getting back in ad revenue.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, so they do that shit. How did we get on books? Oh, fucking Mark Levin's dumbass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not fun. All right, so we talked about polling. Donald Trump's not very popular. Nothing really else has changed. Can we talk about Senator Mitch McConnell, aka Old Cartoon Turtle, getting snubbed?
That was pretty fun.
Have you seen the article that came out today about why?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I saw the article. I haven't read it.
Okay, so for those of you who have not paid attention to the news, Representative Cummings, Elisha Cummings, a goddamn civil rights hero. He marched with Martin Luther King back in the 60s, had his head split open on that bridge. I'm gonna Montgomery Bridge?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And he was there. He was there in the trenches. He's been as representative for like 30 years. He passed away suddenly. His wake and funeral was on Friday, this past Friday, the 25th, I believe. A lot of the congressmen and leaders of the House and the Senate were there, of course, to show their respects. And one of the pallbearers, a man named Bobby Rankin, shook everybody's hand in the line and then looked right in Mitch McConnell's face, and he had his hand out and then walked by him and shook the next guy's hand. Clear as day, funnier than fuck, because nobody likes Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
If you think that was disrespectful, I would like you to get a hold of Judge Merrick Garland and ask him how much respect we should show to Mitch McConnell, and he will probably give you a swear word answer. But it turns out the pallbearer was mad at him because Mitch McConnell held up veterans benefits, and his brother had died of cancer this past October.
What? I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Right. So not only was this some of the best video we ever saw, but it was for a reason. So Bobby Rankin's brother had been a Marine and had been exposed to contaminated water while he served as a Marine, and he had gotten cancer from it, and he had died this last October because Mitch McConnell was fucking around with veterans benefits. And so
That's
the guy
intense.
said, yeah. So the guy said it's like it wasn't about like Mitch McConnell being a power hungry, heartless bastard. It was about his brother. He said, when I saw Mitch McConnell, all I saw was my brother's face. And
That's some heavy shit.
Yeah, and then he went on to say that I couldn't do it. I could not pop up right in front of the part I was going to read. God damn it. I could not put my hands in a man's hands who refused to help somebody who had served his country. I couldn't do it because I was thinking about my brother. So everybody just thinks that was partisan woo-fuckery. Maybe. But I stand with Mr. Rankin in saying fuck Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, fuck Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. You know
Senator
how much, like,
Turtle.
You know how like epic it would be if, to coin the phrase the kids are using these days, if he lost his seat this next cycle.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, that would be pretty great.
I think if for Mitch McConnell to lose his seat in Kentucky, the Democratic turnout would have to be high enough for us to elect a king again.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, because I mean, and my understanding is that in fucking Kentucky, people are like, yeah, that guy sucks, but I'm gonna vote for him. Like,
that's
fuck that
exactly
guy.
what it's like. Yeah,
I hate that guy, but he's not a Democrat. Vote for Mitch McConnell.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate him. Anyway, vote McConnell.
This guy fucking sucks. McConnell 2020.
Oh, it's yeah. Well, and the problem, yeah, it's one of those. It's like West Virginia. You know, we grew up in West Virginia, and for the most part, while we were there, we both moved away, but the state local politics were almost always Democratic in nature, but
yes.
They voted Republican in statewide presidential elections. Never really got a good handle on why that was the thing, but and the same thing, the same is not at all true in Kentucky in that like it was fucking red as red, and I just happened to live in Lexington, which was like one of the two blue spots.
Man, I don't know, that would if Mitch McConnell, I would have to imagine that if Mitch McConnell lost his seat, it would be part of some greater, huge, unexpected shift of like, holy shit, the Democrats took the Senate, like that kind of crazy shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like it would. I mean, although you know what, I'll be honest with you, Justin. If Donald Trump wins the next election, but Mitch McConnell somehow loses his seat, I'll call that at least a half win.
I'll still get drunk on that.
Oh yeah, I'll still get drunk on that.
Yeah, I'd drink to that.
I'll separate it. One night we'll party in celebration of Mitch McConnell being out of the picture, and then the next night we'll party in remembrance over the ashes of our democracy.
Right. We'll have a reading of the Constitution and probably get arrested for it.
Yes.
No, yeah. I mean, you're already starting to see the great political minds turn out the think pieces that are. Like, it's just a fucking equation at this point. Are the Democrats tearing themselves apart? Can they come together behind one candidate and beat Donald Trump? Reasons why the Democrats won't get it together for 2020. And then it's like... And then
you saw the same articles about
exactly.
the GOP in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime this shit happens every election cycle, there's this hand-wringing... But, I mean, it's just... I think it's more pronounced now because we have so many candidates. But once it's down to a handful, like... the only real thing I see is if the nominee is Biden, then you're going to have a real hard time convincing some of those Bernie bros and Warren bros to vote for him because they just really don't fucking like him. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't surprise to say people are, all right, well, fuck it. I mean, it's better than Donald Trump. Let's go. But
that's how we got Donald Trump.
Yeah, pretty much.
So many people are like, well, I hate Hillary Clinton. This guy can't be even worse. And they were like, all right, I was wrong.
I was wrong, yes. Well, and then again, this brings us back to the thing where, like, he won by a very small margin. It was less than 80,000 votes. So
78,000 votes spread across Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
Boom.
Yeah, and, I mean, yes, we can have those hypothetical conversations all the time, and we're going to. We have a podcast. We have alcohol. That's what we do. But what kills me is that there is an entire fucking industry of dipshits that sit in their basement. Maybe their mother's basement. Maybe their father's. I'm not going to judge. But they just churn out these think pieces that are just, complete horseshit. And we're getting to the point now where we're getting the fun ones that are like, goddamn. Can the Democrats take back the Senate? Here are 5 reasons why they could. And it's like, and reason number 1 is an asteroid kills all the Republicans. I mean, they throw some of the most insane and absurd theories out there. And I mean, is it technically possible that the Democrats could retake the Senate? Yes. Is it probable? Absolutely not. Why? Gerrymandering. There you go. ABC, fuck us. I mean, that's what it is. even with North Carolina, just threw out their voter map because it was ruled too gerrymandered.
What?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it was North Carolina or South Carolina, but the last map was, I think it was South Carolina. The last map was thrown out because it targeted the poor and African Americans with surgical precision, and that's a quote from the fucking Supreme Court.
Yeah, I saw that.
Y'all are pricks, but yeah, no, we're gonna get a deluge of those articles, and it just depends on like what you want. It's like choose your own adventure. Like if you're really optimistic right now, you want to sit there and read about how Democrats are going to take the Senate like 100%. Yeah, there's an article out there that says that bullshit. It's not true.
Yeah, well, and again, there's so much hand wringing at this point in the election season, especially now because it's become such a spectator sport, the whole process. So all these outlets feel the need to produce a bunch of shit for to get click stuff, which is the ham-fisted ass theme I've noticed in the new Supergirl season. Is it's so bad. I love it.
Well, I haven't watched any of them.
Somebody comes in and buys the Catco and starts turning it into like a tabloid journalism so they can get clickbait because there's an upcoming election and the current president is super corrupt because Kara exposed it, but people still like him. It's very, very subtle.
Why do they even have a writing staff?
I don't know. I mean, it's literally just some dude. They're recording CNN and then they're changing like something. Okay, that's Supergirl. That's the Martian Manhunter. That's all right. So we're gonna. This guy's not Donald Trump. It's President. What's his name? All right. Fucking. All right, Patriot. All right, cool. It's it's fun, but she looks good in the new suit with the pants.
All about ladies wearing pants.
I know.
We're all about empowerment here at the.
We're progressive. Wear pants, ladies. It's fine.
Wear pants, ladies. It's fine.
But guys, don't wear kilts. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about your kilt except you. And
I was having a good conversation about this the other day with a buddy of mine, and he basically looked at me one day and he goes, "Shay, I think kilts are the new fedoras," and I was like, "That's amazing," because
that's very true.
Not all, but most people I know that wear kilts are way too proud of the fact that they're wearing a kilt. He's like, "Have you seen my kilt?" Yeah. Lots of people wear kilts. What's your point? Well, it's like a skirt, but it's not because I'm cool. I'm like, shut the fuck
up. You just want to free ball it at a bar.
Which I understand.
That's fine. But you can do that in a lot of ways without being a douche about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Well, I need a pitcher of beer. You want to take a break?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me pause this guy. All right, Shay. I want to talk about... You're the one that brought this up to me. You pointed this out. Congressional thugs storm closed house deposition meeting.
Yes. That was amazing. This is so fun.
So last Thursday, it'd be the 23rd, I'm sorry. House Republicans stormed a closed deposition being conducted by House Democrats. They were interviewing, I don't know who they interviewed. I'll have to look this up. Hold on. Who they were interviewing. But they stormed a closed deposition and basically they entered a SCIF without proper credentials, without proper authorization. They took in their cell phones, which was a big no-no. A SCIF, for those of you that aren't paying attention, is a secure, sensitive, something information facility. The hell? I'm blanking on the C here. I think it's sensitive classified information facility. But so basically it's a secure room where you can go have a meeting, you're not being bugged, nobody's listening. There's several of them throughout the White House and the Congress because of the technical age we live in. You are absolutely not supposed to bring a cell phone in here. It defeats the entire purpose. So they brought their cell phones and shit into the SCIF, for fuck's sake. I'd like to point out before we go any further, these are the Republicans that were so worried about Hillary Clinton's email server that may or may not have violated some kind of security protocol.
Yep.
And one dickhead, a Representative Alex Mooney of West Virginia, throwback to the Mountain State, posted a video to Twitter from the fucking SCIF. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, what these guys, so the thing you're going to hear, excuse me, or anyone. I mean, realistically, if anybody cares about the news, they've listened to real news and before they listen to this podcast, so they already know what we're gonna say.
I fucking hope so.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, this goes back to like Jon Stewart complaining about how the show before his was puppets making crank phone calls, and it wasn't a real news show. Yeah.
The
but anyway,
lead into my show is puppets making crank phone calls.
You don't get your news from me.
Yeah.
But no, but the thing is like, all right, first of all, the spin on from these dipshits is that, it's a closed door hearing. It's not legal, which isn't true. They're following the rules that John Boehner signed into law in 2015. But the thing is that the Republicans are being blocked out of it. There's like 48 Republicans in that room. There's 3 committees, and each committee is almost a 50-50 balance of Republicans and Democrats. It's like there's like 49 Democrats, like 47 Republicans. It's something close like that. They're within like 5. And then some of the people in this group actually had permission to go in there. Yes. The guys that weren't on in there just weren't on the right committees. And I am of the opinion that what these guys were hoping for was that they would get a really awesome picture of them being arrested and hauled out. Absolutely. So that they could then throw that and use it in the campaign. Look, the fascist Democrats are arresting the Republicans.
Antifa.
But fun fact, there's a group of boomers. You'll find these guys, old people on Facebook, think Antifa means anti-First Amendment. Look into that. It's very funny.
Yes. No, that's a thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing. I've had that conversation where people are like, they're like, yeah, Antifa is ruining America. They're allowed to have rallies whenever. I was like, when was the first time Antifa has ever had a rally? It's like, Google it. Look it up. It's like, they are anti-fascist. Whenever the people that you're supporting, like the Proud Boys, hold a rally, Antifa shows up and says, listen, motherfuckers, you want to spout your racist bullshit, you're not doing it in the center of my town.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's all a publicity stunt. The Democrats have fought. In fact, it's hysterical. They're following the letter of the law on this shit so closely. I mean, did you see today where basically my understanding is because the White House is refusing to cooperate because the House hasn't had a vote, they're going to have a vote.
Yeah.
Like it's not an official impeachment vote, but it's like to set up an official agenda or whatever for impeachment.
Exactly. It's kind of like all hands on deck here.
Yeah, pretty much. But that shit was hysterical, and that's all they wanted. They just wanted to get some sweet pictures of them getting arrested or footage, and then they all just look like assholes because rightly so. Is it Adam Schiff that would have been in charge of taking going after them if he was going to push it? The statement I heard was like, this is ridiculous enough. We're just going to drop it. Like, we're going to have public hearings eventually, and then they're all going to look like idiots when we do. So it's fine.
Well, and that's kind of the point. So first of all, it's a secure compartmentalized.
Now, if you and I walked in there with our cell phones, we'd be thrown in the clink so fast we wouldn't know what happened.
Our teeth would clack. We'd get yanked out of there so fast.
Mm-hmm. It's a little harder to arrest a congressman, I assume.
No, exactly. Well, okay, so let's back up and hit on some points that you've already made. But first of all, it's secure compartmentalized information facility. That's what SCIF stands for.
There it is.
There you go.
It's our crack research team, folks.
Exactly. I have the internet. What Shay said was exactly right. 13 of the 41 D-bags that did this little stunt, which I'm looking at a picture, and they are all white men. 13 of the 41 people had access to these hearings. They just weren't in them. They stood outside and squawked, I'm not allowed in there.
But they're allowed.
But you're allowed in there. Matt Gaetz did this like a week ago, really trying to like fuck things up. Like he walked in and was like, hey, I want to sit in this committee. They're like, you're not on the committee, get the fuck out. And he was like, well, this is an outrage. And they're like, say it walking.
Okay, bud, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, say it walking. You brought up the fact that these are the rules that Boehner, you just said it.
John Boehner did this. This is exactly how the Republicans ran the investigation into Benghazi.
Exactly. So, there are a lot of videos and interviews of Trey Gowdy, that poor man who is slowly melting in front of all of our eyes. His hair is so bad. That's ad hominem, and I don't give a shit. But Trey Gowdy, not only was he the person who investigated Hillary Clinton for, 4 years with no fucking results whatsoever. I love it when fucking Matt Gaetz and everybody's like, we need to investigate the investigators. Like, then put Trey Gowdy fucking front and center. because we need to investigate what he spent all his money on. And not only was he, the person that led that in the Congress before he resigned, because he was a broken little man, he was also a media whore. So he was on every show every 15 fucking minutes talking about how Hillary Clinton needed to be in jail. So there are countless minutes and hours of him sitting there talking about the reason we're doing these Benghazi depositions and these closed hearings, so that, and he's like, a lot of it, we want to make sure that this witness doesn't hear what this witness is saying, so there's not cross-contamination of evidence, blah, 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 blah. Fun fact,
that's
Shay,
just how a criminal investigation works.
Exactly. Fun fact, did you know that Trey Gowdy has been on that show, Snapped, that's on, like, I think it's A&E, like, I think a half a dozen times.
Really?
Yeah. When he was a local county prosecutor, and I'm going to say Georgia. We could Google that. I don't care. But whatever legal career he had before he ran for Congress, that show Snapped, it's on Oxygen, and I think it's A&E here where I live. But, like, where a woman gets fed up and poisons the shit out of her husband.
Oh, yeah. Was he one? Okay, that's fine.
The woman gets fed up, poisons her husband with antifreeze for the insurance money, which totals $13,000. Like, the sums are always the stupidest sums. Like, I'm going to kill 3 people for $8,000. What the fuck? But he has been on that multiple times. And it's always funnier than fuck to be like making a drink at 1:30 in the morning, turn on TV just for some noise while I, make my cocktail, and look up, and it's Trey Gowdy's ass from 1998 talking about some weird fucking murder in Georgia. He's just being interviewed by the, like, we finally caught her, and it was that breaking the case. It's like, it's so fucking surreal to then see him be the Benghazi prosecutor. So that aside, I guess to the side, you can look that shit up. He says it. There's hours of him saying that on camera. And Shay's exactly right. They wanted to get arrested. Like, they went in, they stood there looking awkward for a while, and then finally ordered pizza because they all got hungry.
Yes.
Like,
yes, about the pizza.
That's how epic this was. That's how gripping they were taking this back for the American people that had been shut out of this process. And we've talked about this before. If the Department of Justice had investigated these things like it should have, instead of saying, that's not a problem, moving on, then those investigations would have been done behind the scenes by the DOJ. And since Robert Barr did not take those up, like when they were presented to him, there were criminal referrals presented to the Department of Justice about these Ukraine calls and this woofuckery. They said they looked at it, didn't see anything. So they just said, fuck it, we're not doing it. And so now Adam Schiff is saying, okay, we'll do it. And like the DOJ would have done, they're going to do it behind the scenes until they're ready to present and do it publicly. Like, it's not, nobody is fucking shredding the Constitution. Calm the fuck down.
Well, it's the equivalent to, you wouldn't interview, if you had 2 people that were involved in the same crime, you're not going to fucking interview one of them in your interrogation room and let the other one watch on TV so he can fucking coordinate his story. That's all it is. It's the equivalent of you see the shit, boomers, you see the shit all the time on Law and Order. It's where they separate the witnesses and they talk to them in the separate rooms. That's all they're doing. That's it.
Exactly. And honestly, Shay, this going back to...
totes legal.
Going back to Donald Trump's press conference, when I went from upstairs to downstairs, when I turned on the TV, NCIS Miami was on. And I watched that for like 40 seconds before I turned it to the press conference. Then I listened to Donald Trump talk. There was virtually no difference between the stupidity of the dialogue of NCIS Miami and the sitting president. So I don't know whether we're going to call this episode, we have the NCIS Miami of presidents, or no, sir, they were saying Boo-urns.
Yes.
Yeah, so those are options you have right now. But, like, this is not fucking Law and Order. This does not even reach Law and Order bullshit. This is so simple.
No.
This is so simple.
And I mean, realistically, everything I don't know enough about it to pretend I'm like a pundit or whatever, but everything I read and people talk are like, well, yeah, but if this stuff goes public, then if the testimony is as good or better than what we've seen so far, then all it is the same damning information in public, and they have no argument against it. Now the thing they can say is like, well, it's all in secret. What do we know? This isn't fair. Once it's out in the open and it's still shady, then what do you say? That'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Right, and like you said,
he'll get impeached in the House, and then he won't in the Senate, and then we'll move on to the next election, and hopefully he'll lose.
Well, actually, what the funny thing is like apparently they're planning on having how do I want to say this? Mitch McConnell told the Senate Republicans to be prepared for a Senate hearing through Thanksgiving, and they would work 6 days a week. And of course, they all complained about that. I would love to break every one of their big toes with a hammer.
Yeah.
Because you work, I think the last time I checked, it was like 118 days out of the year. So you can eat the poop, you can eat all the poop. But that's not going to happen. So any Senate hearing is probably going to be in the next year. So we're going to be literally into an election year where Donald Trump has to sit in the Senate and be cross-examined, have to testify.
It's gonna be amazing.
Well, that will be amazing, but it'll be even more amazing when he declines to do it because they know they can't put his fucking ass on the stand because he'll perjure the shit out of himself.
Yeah, well, it's a perjury trap.
It's a perjury trap. Well, you could just tell the truth. No, that's a perjury trap.
That's a perjury trap. Yeah.
Like what? No, like. Oh, they're just going to get me when I said it was a Tuesday when it was really a Wednesday. Like, you could say, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. See? Perjury trap avoided.
Just don't lie. Yeah.
And Shay, how many law degrees do we have between us?
Not a one.
Not a one. And we figured this shit out. This is the sitting president of the United States. It's fucking amazing. But like you said, Shay, they just wanted to get arrested. What they needed to do was just change the channel from what I like to call moron contra.
Yeah. I really wonder. Man, I can't imagine him testifying on the stand. I feel like he would lose his shit.
Honestly, Shay, have you looked at his previous depositions? Like there are several of them out there on YouTube. When he has been deposed for the, I think there was something with one of his casinos, and then of course the Trump University.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with Trump University he was deposed, and he is very caged and careful when he knows the things he will say are liable for not only money but maybe criminal repercussions. The way you could look at this is he's the exact opposite of Alex Jones.
Yeah. Huh.
He's very careful when he knows his shit is real. He's done things like during the Trump University deposition, he said outright, like, listen, my net worth is whatever I feel like it is that day. Like, I change that number whenever I feel like it. It's not a real number. Like, he just admits shit like that because he knows that this is big boy time.
Yeah. Like, that'll be interesting.
This is not rally time. So if he's actually testifies, which I doubt he would ever do, it's. I'm with you. It would be amazing if he testified because, like, we saw, like, what was that, the press conference last time where the reporter tried to ask him a question. He said, "No, ask him a question. Are you talking to me? Talking to me?" Like, it would be so easy to get him into that mindset, especially if he has an audience that he feels like he has to perform for.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It'd be amazing. I don't know. I don't see it happening either, but it's. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's so amazing. I mean, God, do you remember Barack Obama's impeachment? It was gripping. Oh wait, we didn't do that because you guys didn't have shit on him.
That's true.
I always love these people. Like, you know what we should do? We should go back and investigate Obama. It's like, all right, fine, fucking, let's do it. Let's start. Like, I mean, you guys had 8 years to, like, all you did was bitch. All you did was bitch. You kept saying how unconstitutional every fucking thing Barack Obama did or said was, but you never fucking nutted up and did something about it. You're like, no, I'm just going to sit here on Twitter and bitch about it. Like, no, it's because you know you were full of shit.
Yup.
Speaking of full of shit, I don't want to read Suzanne Rice's whole book. I don't even know the title. But she recently called Lindsey Graham a piece of shit for his Benghazi bullshit.
Yeah, that's fun.
So I listened to that interview on Pod Save America, Pod Save the World, and I don't particularly want to read her whole book, but I bet you that part about Benghazi would be fascinating because they were talking about how frustrating it was to have to deal with Benghazi, and know that certain House and Senate members that were on certain committees knew the actual legit details of what went down and kind of like how it shaped up, and after the fact, of course, like right after the attack, everybody was like trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Like months later, when we knew, at least they knew A, B, and C, D, how frustrated they were to listen to the House and Senate members that were sitting on these committees just make up whole just complete lies to like fundraise and attack Obama on it. And like how frustrating that was. I was like, I can't imagine that. Like, I mean, I've been in a situation where I've heard people tell a story about a thing that happened that I was at to me that was not true.
You're like, I was there for that, dude. That never happened.
They got a couple drinks in them and they started telling me a story about a thing I was at, and I was like, what? Like, it has to be that frustrating. But sober.
Oh man, that's the worst. I mean, I could understand it if you had some drinks. Like, fuck.
Yeah. All right. So fun stuff. First thing, just a little tidbit. I finished the strain finally. It's fun.
Does it have an ending at all?
Yeah,
or is it
and from what you explained to me from the books, it ends pretty much the same way. Excuse me. The Strigoi.
Yeah.
AKA the vampires take over most of the world, round up the humans, start using them as cattle. They eventually attack the master and blow him up with a nuclear bomb, so the rest of the vampires kind of get dumb again. So if you guys haven't watched The Strain, it's a lot of fun. It takes the vampire myth and actually tries to pin a biological reason to every part of the vampire lore. It's a worm infection that's passed from person to person.
The comics are good too.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's all fun. It's oh god, I'm gonna say it wrong. It's not Benicio del Toro. It's Guillermo
del Toro.
Yeah. So
yeah, Benicio del Toro is the actor. Guillermo's the director.
Thank you. So if you liked Hellboy or Pan's Labyrinth or any of that shit, read the books, pick up the comics, watch the show. It's fun as shit. Okay, real talk. Terminator, Dark Fate. I got a robot boner for this.
It looks all right. I mean, I'm not gonna get too pumped because I mean, the last one that came out was real bad. Genesis was poopy butts, and although it's poopy butts, dude. But I stand by the fact that if they hadn't have revealed the twist that John Connor had been turned into a Terminator in the trailer, it would have been at least enjoyable. But that was literally the whole point of the movie, and they put it in the trailer. The director was even pissed off about it. He's like, "Yeah, be fucking kidding me, guys." And I didn't mind it.
I was annoyed by it. I was annoyed by. Okay, of course, we've talked about this before. The Terminator franchise is a great canvas for whatever the fuck you want to do, because whenever you're dealing with time travel, you just got to go back 30 more seconds and you can fix it or reset it or what the fuck ever, right?
Yeah, it gets silly, but they're all the quality of the movies is one thing. They're really the only good ones are the first two, and then after that, they're just a lot of fun.
Right. Well, Genesis was at that time where everything had to be nanoparticles and nanobots, and that annoyed the fuck out of me.
I hate that shit. The Transformers did that too. Everything does that. Even Thor did that with the ether or whatever. It was like a thingy that floated around. But anyway, the new one looks solid. I like that Lyndall Hamilton's back. I like that Arnie's back. I like that it's James Cameron's not directing it. He's producing, which means fuck all really. But
means he showed up on Tuesday, had a sandwich, said, "Oh, this looks good."
Yeah, I think it's the Deadpool guys.
Yeah,
right, Deadpool director. Yeah, so I'll see. I like the idea of the liquid skeleton pulling off of the end, like the metal endoskeleton. It seems just like a natural progression.
Exactly.
But I hope there's some neatness in there with like, when they're separated, they're
one
weaker
of them's
in some
dumber.
way, or one of them's dumber, or something like that. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know. It looks neat. I'm kind of into it. Or maybe it's one of these things where like the endoskeleton's just controlling the exo. I don't know, whatever. But I'll see it. It's what, November 1st? That's this Friday.
Yeah, that's this weekend.
Hey, that's badass. I have a party to go to on Thursday night and Friday night, so I took Friday off just to have 3 days of debauchery. And it looks like I'm gonna go see Terminator: Dark Fate on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I am really, really into this. Terminator 2. Okay, so this is a direct sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
This pretends like all the other ones never happened, right?
Exactly. It pretends like, and you can do that when it's time travel, kind
That's
of,
fine.
reset shit. Yeah, fine. I mean,
especially if you take the idea of like every time you go back in time, the original timeline exists, and you create a new timeline that's different, so you can have an infinite number of shit. Like that's fucking when Professor Hulk explains that in Endgame. It's amazing. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And then he takes selfie with his little kids. It's great. But no, like this is direct. Like I said, it's direct sequel to Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Terminator 2: Judgment Day was basically my Jaws. Like that came out when I was like 10 or 11, and it was the blockbuster of like my adolescence. And I probably saw that 13 times in the theater. I mean, that's all we did. Like Joey Adams lived around the corner. Whenever he was around, we'd hit up either his parents or my parents, our parents. We have the same parents. I'm not trying to throw some shade there. No matter what Dad tells us. But it was just like, all right, when's the next showing of Terminator 2? And we just go see it, like just over and over and over. It's amazing.
I love going back and watching that because there's just like there is a lot of cool CG stuff in there with the T-1000, but everything else is practical. Like that whole canal chase scene is fucking incredible.
Yeah. I don't know how in the hell, like the whole where he swings the motorcycle around the semi, like it's just, oh shit. No, the rest of it's practical. It's amazing. It's of course the best of the series. I'm so into it. Like I showed Rachel the preview, and she's like, "Oh man, it's been so long since I've seen the first two." I was like, "Well, guess what we're doing this week?" And watching those. And it includes all the best parts of the ones that we loved. Like you got, so you got the T8, you got the endoskeleton T800. I'm sure they're gonna call it something else. It's probably the T900 or something like that. And then you got the liquid metal from T2. And we saw the combination of them before in T3, which is a very bad movie. But you saw the combination of them, an endoskeleton that's encased in that liquid metal, so it can change its appearance. But it wasn't able to separate itself, so that's cool. That's an evolution. Awesome. Yeah. You got Linda Hamilton coming back. You got Arnold coming back. I have heard that the original John Connor, what the fuck is his name?
I don't remember, but he's involved somehow.
He is supposed to be in the movie. He was originally supposed to be in the movie, and could not.
He hit it real hard with like heroin or something, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. I just know there was like an issue, and he was like not well.
He did a lot of heroin, and he did a lot of like smaller roles. Fuck.
That movie is so 90s, and it has one of my
Edward Furlong.
That's
there we go.
I still think my favorite scene in just about any science fiction movie is when they're in the Datadyne guy's house, and you just go show him, and he cuts his skin off his arm, and his arm, he's like click, 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 and the guy's face goes from horrified to holy shit, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. God, I love that movie.
And in Terminator Genesis, they know that the a T-1000 is coming for them. So they set up basically an acid room to dissolve it, and they shoot all these barrels of acid above them, but Sarah Connor it's still coming for Sarah Connor, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's original T-800. No, I'm sorry, it was a different one that was sent back to protect her in a different schism of time. What the fuck ever. Like it's going after her, and he gets between her and it, and he grabs it by its throat and holds it into the acid bath, and while it's dissolving that, it dissolves all the skin off of his forearm, much in the same way that the T2 happened. Yeah. But that's the reason he can't go back in time with it. He's like, well, it's going to take me a couple years to grow this back.
Yeah.
Like, and when he peels that arm off, he's like, oh, it'll grow back. Don't worry.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, those movies are, I don't know. They have a special place in my heart because of when they came out and how awesome they were. Because, I remember watching Terminator 1 on somebody's parents' HBO tape. They taped it off HBO. Like that's how. I
have a distinct memory of you coming home the day Terminator 2 came out on VHS, and you just sat me down like we're watching this because I don't think I was able to see it in theaters. I would have been too young.
Yeah. I was like, if you have nightmares, that's your problem. Watch this. This is awesome.
Yeah, that was basically it. When did that come out? What year was that? Do you know?
That's like 92.
Yeah, it looks like 91. I would have been 6.
Yep, that sounds about me.
You know?
That sounds like me.
Yeah. Yeah, here, watch this. Because I was like 6 or 7 the first time I saw it. And I was like, ah! I remember the scene where she gets nuked and turns to a skeleton on the fence. Freaked me out real bad. Ah!
Yeah.
That's cool.
I freaked everybody out a little bit. No, that's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It reminds me that when Rachel is off work tomorrow night, we need to watch Terminator. But also, okay, next big blockbuster, Rise of Skywalker. I'm actually getting kind of pumped.
It's more Star Wars, man. Like I
Yeah.
had this conversation with a friend of mine, like I think last week, where a friend of mine walked up to me at the bar and he's like, "Man, did you see it?" And I was like, "See what?" Like context, bro.
Aliens, man.
And I was like, "Well, it was aliens." No, he was like, "The new Star Wars trailer." I was like, "Oh no, I kind of forgot about that." And this is a friend of mine who's like obsessed with Star Wars, so you could see his eyes cross and steam come out his ears when he said. But honestly, like, Star Wars is no longer an event for me anymore because I know there's going to be one every year. It's been, I honestly forgot about it, and
We're spoiled now.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I'm not saying I'm not going to see it or I'm not excited, but it's just this realization I had that like Star Wars for me has lost a little bit of its luster because I know for a fact there's going to be, or at least for the last few years, there's been 1 or 2 a year. It's kind of turned into the type like I'm up until Endgame. Toward the end, you don't get super excited for those because you know it's going to happen. But then you see Endgame and it's amazing. But no, it looks cool. I mean, I love the idea that they're tying it back into Return of the Jedi, and I think I saw the ruins of the old Death Star and the Emperor's throne room in the trailer, and then I'm assuming Emperor Palpatine's in there somehow. His head's in a jar or some shit. But I mean, in the extended universe, I think it was either the books or the comics. You find out that the Emperor that Vader killed was a clone, and the real one, there's like it's a whole fucking mess at one point. None of that shit counts anymore. Disney said the extended universe isn't canon anymore, but there is like a whole series of books where you find out, I think it's books where you find out the Emperor was a clone and he has multiple clones, and then they're like trying to fight their way to find the actual guy to kill him, and it's a fucking thing.
and when they sawed Darth Maul in half, he survived just by sheer hate.
Yes. Yeah,
just by sheer hate and the forces of the dark side, he gets a
like
robot
spider body on his bottom. Yeah, and then eventually he like at first there's like a cartoon where they do that too, where he's feral for a while and then like he gets his legs back or something, and he's actually a really cool villain. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. It's not like I'm not going to go see it. It's fucking Star Wars, but like I am one of those people who poo-pooed on the last one really hard. The last one I really didn't like that much. So, but this is J.J. Abrams again, who I am for whatever reason just fucking love everything that guy does. So, I'll check it out.
I liked the last one. I thought there were some real hard missteps on the last one. Mainly the spoiler alert, the part where Luke Skywalker just kind of vanishes into thin air for no explainable reason.
Like, okay, so here's that would like workshop it. Boom. So instead of having that lady, the new interesting character, die, sending the Star Destroyer light speeding through it, you have Leia.
Can we back up? Can we back up how awesome that was? So you had this. Had a very tall. I can't remember the actress's name. I don't think I've ever known her name. It was the female scientist from Jurassic Park. That's who that was.
I don't believe that was her. Oh no! You mean Jurassic World, not Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park.
Was it Laura Dern? No, that wasn't fucking.
Shot bet.
Yeah, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, like so, she's the new admiral of the Resistance, and they spend this entire long sequence of just staying out of range of the chasing. It's not a Star Destroyer. It's like something bigger than that. It's whatever Snoke's ship is called. I'd have to look that up. But they're just staying out of range of their cannons. But then as they run out of fuel, the transports fall back and get exploded. So they come up with an idea they're just gonna jet out of there. And she turns the ship around and light speeds into a Star Destroyer, which I knew was a possibility. That's why I was worried about those calculations. But I finally got to fucking see it, and I was rock hard in that theater.
Yeah, it always makes you wonder why they don't just have a bunch of ships they remote fly into them. I was like, hey, that's a pretty good way to do it. That's sweet. But that's a fun. I mean, I don't know. That's just there's I could see all these different ways you could have written that movie to be better, but I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's enjoyable by the sheer definition of the fact that it's fucking Star Wars. Like, I'm gonna like it.
Lightsabers.
There's lightsabers, and I'm gonna like it. But I was really butthurt. Like, I didn't get any of Snoke's backstory. It was really, I don't know. I mean, unless
they do that in the comics, apparently.
Yeah. Well, you know, and then maybe this will be one of those things where the next movie explains some shit I'm grumpy about, and then once all 3 movies are out, it makes the middle one better. But I doubt it.
I am always impressed, and the reason that these are always fun for me is because, much like in the Marvel Universe, like you just said, they have just embraced the scale of what makes them so awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, one of the scenes that I loved so much in, like, you know, in the original Star Wars that made it so great was the scale of, you know, the Rebel Armada just zipping out of light space, and it's like hundreds and hundreds of ships just like piling up on each other, because that's right where there's a point B and they're coming from a point, you know, A, and they all just fucking zip into this formation, and they're just there. They just become this heavy cloud of ships, and then of course the Empire has their heavy cloud of ships that started waiting there, and then they just go at each other. That sheer scale is always fun. It's always entertaining. It's always fun to look at. Of course, in Rogue One, I love the shit out of that. I mean,
yeah, that's solid.
That was solid. The hammer Corvette that just fucking nails the side of that guy, of the one Death Star, and pushes it down into the portal.
Yep.
I've watched that one scene, I don't know, 30 times. And in this new one with Rise of Skywalker, there's that scale that's there. There's the big open shots of the ruins of a Star Destroyer. And like, it's that scale, I think, that keeps people coming back. It inspires the awe and mysticism that you want with that Jedi kind of lore.
Yeah.
And it plays into that. And it's just like, well, boom. Yeah. It's every little kid in all of us is like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's like when what is it? Is it Guardians 2 where they go to nowhere and it's built inside the skull of a celestial? So that shit's so badass.
All I did that night was like fucking Google shit about the celestials and and like what scale they were and why is there somebody flying in their eyeball? Like, that's amazing. That shit. Yeah. That's why. Okay.
Is Galactus considered a celestial?
No, he's just a different thing.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
He's some primordial force.
Yeah.
Which, you know, quick aside, why we should really do a fucking, Transformers with Unicron. Like,
that'd
we really
be sweet.
need to do that. Yeah, really do that. Do the whole shebang.
Man, I need to get that Blu-ray. That's a solid movie.
What's that?
The Transformers '85, the animated one.
It is.
Yeah, I don't own it. I have a DVD copy that since been lost, but
no, that's solid. All right, Shay. Anything else you want to say? Get off your chest.
Last of Us Part 2 was delayed from February of next year to May. I am personally going to burn Naughty Dog Studios to the fucking ground.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm currently, like, my big game on the horizon is the new MechWarrior. I believe it's 5 Mercenaries.
Yeah, that's a bit off though, and that's not this year.
That was delayed until December, and I believe it was delayed until next year. The specs of my PC are right below what is recommended, so I need to pick and choose what I need to upgrade. I'm not looking to throw like $500 into this old computer to play MechWarrior, but I'll throw $200 into it.
Yeah, you might. You know, new GPU is usually the best thing you can do.
Yeah, that's what, I know I got to do that, but I think if I could tweak some other things, it'll be better. But yeah, it's some weird shit going on. I love how everybody's like trying to like bust on Blizzard, and all these pro gaming people are like, you know, because Blizzard's so pro China because they make all their money there.
Yeah,
he's like, we should boycott Blizzard. I'm like, you motherfuckers are gonna play Diablo 4 the minute it comes out. Shut the fuck up.
Oh man, speaking of China, you need to watch this season of South Park. It is on point. It's pretty fun.
I saw that.
Yeah,
it was good.
Randy goes to China because he thinks he's the first one to think of getting investment from China. It's just hysterical. It's just going through Chinese customs with like 50 pounds of weed. It's so good. Chong Chao, Tiggerty weed.
It's marijuana.
It's marijuana.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Shay's got to drink more Russians.
Yep.
I'm going to go downstairs and figure out if I'm going to play video games or just...
I'm going to play Hunt Showdown with a friend of mine, so...
Yeah. I'm trying to finish up Titanfall 2. It's just,
I never did finish the campaign in that. I heard it's real fucking good. On my short list, I got to finish Red Dead. I got to finish my replay of Last of Us and fucking Horizon Zero Dawn. And, you know, it's hard to be me. That's all I'm saying.
Sometimes I like to tell people I just need to get mono.
Yeah, honestly, all the games I want have all been pushed back to next year. Like, everything I really want is fucking next year. Cyberpunk, Last of Us Part 2.
Wait, Cyberpunk got pushed back?
Well, no, Cyberpunk is never coming out this year. It's April 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what I just mean. It's next year. The only one I think is Outer Worlds. Looks really dope. It is. Look into this.
Look good.
It is the best description I've seen is it is Fallout New Vegas had a baby with Futurama. It plays exactly like Fallout, but it's got a very futuristic space setting and very similar sense of humor to Futurama. So I'm gonna check that shit out.
Was that Outer Worlds, you said?
Outer Worlds, yeah. It's from
cool.
the team that made Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, cool.
And the guys that made the original first two Fallout. So it's solid.
Oh, that's cool. All right, well, let's wrap this up. Like we say every time, we hope you enjoy this podcast. We enjoy the shit out of doing it. This is a reason for me to talk to my little brother. And he's not wearing a tank top tonight, so it's a no gun show.
No gun show. It's too cold out. It's like it's supposed to get down to 10 degrees today, and I'm gonna get 10 inches of snow tomorrow. No guns.
Ooh, it's like 50 here.
Yeah. Well, go fuck yourself. This is actually the coldest and most snow Colorado's gotten in October, or this specific spot, in like 10 years. So it's all the weather nerds are freaking out about it. This is so cold, man.
Well, because global warming, so
yeah, sweet. Yeah. Well, no, it's snowing here. Global warming is a Chinese hoax, Justin.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, hit us up if you want to ask us a question or a comment or get us just give us shit. You can hit us up at Twitter. It's at WoodsCast1776, and Facebook's also at WoodsCast1776. Shit, I can't say that. And hit us up, send us an email if you got a comment, something we feel we should talk about, want to come on the show. You got something grinding your gears? Give us a shout. We'll have you on. We will cut you off if you are super racist. If you are Ben Ferguson, you have to have a topic to talk about ahead of time, because we don't need to talk to drunk Ben Ferguson again unless he has something to talk about. That was a shit show. I know you're listening, Ben, so that's just a heads up.
Shut up, Dave.
Well, actually, we also need to have Dave back on, because your other friend was like, there was too much Dave.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's
or
right.
we could have your other friend on. I don't care. We're open. But hit us up at the WoodsCast1776@gmail.com, because we are on all the platforms that Alex Jones is not. You should be able to find our podcast on all your podcast applications. SoundCloud, Google Play, Apple iTunes, all that horse shit. Yeah, like, it's really easy not to get kicked off of this shit. I don't know what Alex Jones' problem is.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Anyway, Shay, say goodbye to the nice people.
Toodles, people.
And as always, Hydra says, seize the means of production.
A rubber band man, just moving, just a rubber band,